Some women leave a mark on a man's soul, not because they are the most beautiful, the smartest, or the most charming, but because they make him feel something he can't forget. Maybe it's the way she understood him when no one else did. Maybe it's the way she made him believe in himself when he was full of doubt. Or maybe it's something he can't even explain, a presence that lingers long after she's gone. And here's the part most people don't realize: it's not about luck or fate. It's about something she does, something rare, powerful, and deeply human. Men don't remember women because of what they say or how they look, they remember how she made them feel. And if you think it's about always being kind, always saying the right thing, or never making mistakes, you're wrong. The truth is surprising, and once you understand it, everything changes. Because the women men can't forget are not the ones who try the hardest. They're the ones who tap into something deeper, something that stays with a man even when he wishes he could let go. Stay with me, and you'll see exactly what it is. Some connections go beyond attraction. They reach a level where a man feels safe enough to lower his guard, to stop performing, to stop proving. In a world that constantly tells him to be strong, to hold it together, to never show weakness, there are very few places where he can just be. But when he finds a woman who gives him that space, who doesn't judge his struggles, who listens without trying to fix everything, who lets him feel without making him feel small, that connection becomes unforgettable. Most people don't realize how much men keep inside. Not because they don't care, but because they've been trained to believe that opening up makes them weaker. That's why real emotional support is rare. Most conversations feel transactional, like a test he has to pass. But when he meets someone who doesn't make him prove himself first, who makes it easy to talk without fear of being misunderstood, something shifts. Walls come down, a bond forms, and that's the kind of bond that stays. It's not about agreeing with everything he says or fixing his problems. It's not about cheering him on blindly or making him the center of the universe. It's about creating a space where he feels valued, not just for what he does, but for who he is. There's a difference between someone who listens to respond and someone who listens to hear. The second kind of listening makes a man feel seen in a way that most people never do. When the world weighs heavy on him, he won't remember who gave the best advice. He won't hold on to the words that sounded good in the moment. But he will remember how safe he felt with someone who never made him feel like a burden. He will remember the quiet moments where he didn't have to say much, but somehow she still understood. That kind of presence leaves a mark. That kind of connection doesn't fade. Some moments refuse to fade, not because they were perfect, but because they were real. They held laughter, struggle, excitement, maybe even chaos, but they meant something. Deep down, people don't hold on to relationships because of words spoken or promises made. They hold on to the feelings tied to the experiences they shared. The way the world seemed to disappear in a late night conversation, the thrill of an unexpected adventure, the comfort of sitting in silence, knowing nothing needed to be said. These moments don't just pass, they stay. Most connections start to blur over time. Faces fade, conversations get lost, but certain experiences stick, not because they were big or dramatic, but because they were different. They stood out from the routine, the expected, the ordinary. It's easy to get caught up in daily life, repeating the same conversations, falling into the same habits. But the relationships that leave the deepest mark are the ones that break that pattern, the ones where both people live rather than just exist side by side. Excitement doesn't have to come from grand gestures or expensive trips. What matters is the feeling behind it. Two people walking through an unfamiliar city, laughing at getting lost. A quiet night where everything feels still but the connection is loud. A spontaneous decision that leads to a story worth telling. Those are the things that last. They create a rhythm, a shared history, a bond that doesn't rely on constant words or effort, it just is. People don't attach to facts, they attach to experiences that made them feel something rare. A relationship that lacks these moments starts to feel like a transaction. Comfortable, maybe, predictable, sure, but not memorable. And when someone is gone, all that's left are the emotions tied to the time spent together. That's why the ones who stand out aren't always the ones who are around the longest. They're the ones who created something that couldn't be ignored, something that, no matter how much time passes, still lingers. Something stands out about a person who isn't trying to be anything other than who they are. There's no performance, no script, no careful calculation of the perfect thing to say, just raw, unfiltered presence. That kind of energy is rare. Most people are too busy shaping themselves into what they think others, wanting down parts of their personality, exaggerating others, adjusting to fit an image. But the ones who don't play that game, they leave an impact without even trying. Authenticity isn't about being perfect, it's about being real. It's the difference between someone who says what they think will sound good and someone who speaks with honesty, even if it's not always smooth or polished. It's the difference between a connection that feels effortless and one that feels like a performance. There's something magnetic about a person who owns their quirks, their flaws, their passions without hesitation. It's a kind of confidence that doesn't need validation, and that's what makes it unforgettable. People might be drawn to beauty, charm, or status, but those things fade into the background if there's nothing real beneath them. What stays is the way someone carries themselves when no one is watching, the way they laugh without holding back, the way they express excitement without filtering it, the way they show emotions without worrying if they'll be judged. That kind of honesty is felt more than it's seen. It creates a space where others feel safe to be real too. And that's where true connections are built. Pretending to be something else might work for a while, but it's exhausting. And eventually, people sense when something isn't real. But when someone shows up as their raw, unfiltered self, something deeper happens. Conversations have more weight, moments feel more alive, and connections don't just pass, they leave something behind. It's not about being liked by everyone, it's about being unforgettable to the ones who truly see what's real. There's something powerful about a woman who walks through life with a sense of purpose. She isn't waiting for permission. She isn't looking around to see who approves. She moves with confidence, not because she thinks she's better than anyone, but because she trusts herself. That kind of energy changes the way people experience her. It's not about arrogance or being loud, it's about knowing who she is and not shrinking to make others comfortable. Independence isn't about pushing people away or refusing help. It's about having a life that is full on its own. A woman who has her own passions, her own dreams, her own direction creates a different kind of presence. She's not chasing validation. She's not measuring her worth by someone else's attention. That makes every interaction feel different. There's no desperation, no clinging, no fear of being alone. And that in itself is magnetic. A relationship with someone who stands strong on their own never feels like a trap. It's not built on obligation or guilt, it's built on choice. When someone has their own path, their own sense of fulfillment, they bring something to the relationship instead of expecting the relationship to complete them. That shift changes everything. There's less pressure, there's more freedom, there's a deeper level of attraction because it's based on mutual respect rather than need. Most people are drawn to confidence without even realizing it. It's the way someone carries themselves, the way they speak about their goals, the way they hold eye contact without hesitation. It's not about having all the answers. It's about moving forward even without them. When someone stands firmly in their own identity, they leave an impact without effort. They aren't trying to be unforgettable. They just are. Closeness isn't just about time spent together. Some people can be around each other for years and still feel like strangers, while others can share a single moment that changes everything. What makes the difference isn't the number of conversations or the grand gestures, it's the depth of connection. It's the way someone feels when they're with another person, the unspoken trust, the sense that they don't have to hold back. Emotional intimacy is rare because it requires vulnerability. It's easy to talk about surface level things, to laugh at the right moments, to keep interactions light and effortless. But real connection comes from being seen, from sharing thoughts that haven't been rehearsed, from opening up about fears, doubts, and dreams without worrying about judgment. That kind of closeness isn't built overnight, but when it happens, it's unforgettable. It creates a bond that doesn't rely on constant words or effort, it just is. Physical intimacy deepens that bond, but not in the way most people think. It's not just about attraction or chemistry. It's about the energy behind every touch, the unspoken messages in a glance, the feeling of safety in someone's presence. True intimacy isn't rushed, it's not transactional. It's built in the quiet moments, the slow gestures, the times when no words are needed but everything is understood. Some connections feel temporary, easy to walk away from. But when both emotional and physical intimacy exist at the same time, something deeper takes hold. It's not just about passion, it's about trust, it's about feeling known. And when someone has truly been known, that experience doesn't fade. It leaves something behind, something that lingers even when everything else is gone. Some people come into a life and leave it exactly as they found it. Others shift something deep inside, not by force, not by demand, but simply by being who they are. The most unforgettable connections are the ones that bring growth where both people walk away better than they were before. A woman who inspires a man to step into his full potential doesn't do it by criticizing him or trying to fix him. She does it by believing in the version of him that even he struggles to see. Growth isn't comfortable. It requires facing fears, breaking old patterns, letting go of excuses. Most people avoid it because it's easier to stay the same. But when someone steps into a man's life and refuses to let him settle for less than what he's capable of, something shifts. Not in a way that makes him feel pressured or unworthy, but in a way that makes him want to rise higher. Encouragement isn't about empty praise, it's about seeing potential and calling it out with truth and patience. The presence of someone who pushes for better changes the entire direction of a life. When a man is around someone who is constantly evolving, growing, and striving for more, he feels that energy. It challenges him to step up. It forces him to ask bigger questions about who he is and where he's going. And when someone helps him see himself differently, that impact stays with him, even if the connection fades. Not every relationship has this kind of effect. Some connections are built on comfort, routine, and staying the same. But the ones that truly matter are the ones that leave people transformed. A woman who brings growth isn't just someone who is there for a season, she becomes a turning point, a force that shifted something in a way that can't be undone. That kind of influence is rare. And once it's felt, it never fully disappears. Hard times reveal everything. When life is smooth, it's easy to be present, easy to say the right things, easy to show up. But when the weight of the world presses down, when nothing is certain, when a man is at his lowest, that's when true support matters. Some people disappear when things get difficult. Others stay, not because they have all the answers, not because they can fix everything, but simply because they refuse to leave. That kind of presence changes everything. Support isn't about solving problems. It's not about offering endless advice or trying to force someone to be positive. It's about being there, really being there, standing firm when things feel shaky, holding space for frustration, fear, and doubt without trying to rush past them. Most people get uncomfortable when someone they care about is struggling. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to help. But the ones who make a difference aren't the ones with the perfect words. They're the ones who don't walk away. A man facing challenges already has enough pressure. He doesn't need to be told what he should have done differently or how he needs to fix things immediately. What he needs is to know he's not alone, that no matter how hard things get, he won't be abandoned, that someone sees the weight he's carrying and is willing to stand beside him, even when it's messy, even when it's uncertain, even when it would be easier to leave. When everything feels like it's falling apart, the people who stay become a foundation. They don't have to carry the burden, but their presence makes it lighter. They don't have to promise that everything will be fine, but their belief makes it easier to keep going. That kind of loyalty isn't just noticed, it's felt. And once someone has felt that level of support, it changes the way they see a person forever. Some people blend in, others stand out without even trying. It's not about being the loudest in the room or having the most polished personality. It's about the small things, the quirks, the little habits, the moments of raw authenticity that can't be copied. These details don't just make someone different, they make them unforgettable. Maybe it's the way she gets overly excited about the things she loves, her face lighting up like nothing else in the world exists. Maybe it's how she mispronounces a certain word, and no matter how many times she's corrected, she keeps saying it her way. Maybe it's the way she sings off key without a care, dances when there's no music, or laughs at jokes that no one else finds funny. These aren't things that can be forced or rehearsed. They're simply a part of who she is. And that's exactly why they leave a mark. Most people try so hard to be what they think others want, smoothing out their rough edges to fit into some idea of perfection. But perfection is forgettable. It's the unpredictable moments, the unscripted reactions, the things that make a person completely them that stick in someone's mind. These traits don't have to be dramatic or attention seeking, they just have to be real. What sets someone apart isn't always something obvious. Sometimes it's a habit so natural that she doesn't even notice it. The way she pauses before speaking, as if she's carefully choosing every word. The way she instinctively reaches out to fix something slightly out of place. The way she bites her lip when she's thinking, taps her fingers when she's nervous, or hums a song under her breath without realizing it. These small details create a presence, a rhythm, a feeling that can't be replaced. In a world full of carefully curated personalities, the rarest thing is someone who is unapologetically themselves, not trying to be different, not trying to stand out, just existing in a way that is completely theirs. And that, more than anything else, is what lasts. Some people come and go without leaving a trace. Others stay, not just in memory, but in the way they made someone feel. It's not about grand gestures or perfect words. It's about presence, about the depth of connection, about the moments that couldn't be ignored. The ones who leave a mark are never the ones who tried the hardest to be noticed. They're the ones who simply were. A connection that lingers isn't built on surface level attraction. It's not about saying the right things or playing a role. It's about the way someone's energy shifts a room, the way their laughter makes everything lighter, the way they carry themselves without apology. It's about being real in a world that constantly pressures people to be something else. Time passes, people change. But certain experiences, certain emotions, certain bonds resist fading. They shape the way someone sees the world, the way they move forward, the way they define love, trust, and connection. And when a person has that kind of impact, they are never truly gone. If this video spoke to you, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. There's more to explore, more to uncover, and more to learn. Stay with us, we're just getting started.